I'm Geneva Zoltek in Missoula, where record-breaking temperatures tell us that it's hot for this time of year. But what do these temperatures tell us about global systems? I spoke with Dr. Steve Running in Missoula to learn more.
We're seeing less of those cold extremes and more of these hot extremes right in our own weather statistics, and of course that's what the climate models forecast.
In 2007, Dr. Steve Running received a phone call. He had just won a Nobel Peace Prize for his contribution to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. And that's just one of his accolades. His primary life contribution is developing software for NASA's Earth observation program, which launched satellites into space. The result is decades worth of global measurements that showcase how the Earth works as an integrated system.
Well, I think most of us just think of our weather in day-to-day, week-to-week sorts, and it's hard to remember. It's hard even for me as a climate scientist to remember details. Was it the summer of 17 or the summer of 15 that was so hot? You just forget those kind of small but maybe significant details. And with climate, what we're really looking at is decadal trends. Any individual event, no matter how extreme, even like this week, in and of itself is not a climate signal. It's only when it's packaged with the rest of the climate observations that it becomes important.
Dr. Running's work involved the conception of global climate models, and he says the current heat wave, an extreme event, was forecast.
Well, what this heat wave tells us is that the climate models that we started running, those big global climate models 30 years ago, they basically forecast that these kind of extreme events, extreme heat events, were going to start becoming hotter and occurring more often.
Despite these models becoming more advanced with time, Dr. Running says they still reach the same conclusion. More extreme weather events are likely.
We have so many measures that have been going on worldwide for 20, 30, 50 years, satellite measures, all sorts of ground and ocean and ice measurements, that in a way, the measurements themselves, I don't want to say aren't that interesting, but there's nothing much new. What concerns us now is how slow the politicians are to get serious about action.
In Montana, the extreme heat has impacts like evaporating water, which dries out the landscape.
And so it isn't so much for us the temperatures as those second order effects that are absolutely critical to us, and that we clearly see signals that things are getting tougher. And that's I think what we have to be very conscious about and just very honest about, getting serious about how we're going to deal with it.
In Missoula, Geneva Zoltek, MTN News.